Hey everyone, it's Rusta. Over the past few weeks, there's been several exciting new developments in how to fight Ahriman in the Final Fantasy XII speedrun, and the fight is way more streamlined, fast, easy now. So I just want to make a little quick tutorial talking about all the new tech. Um, so let's get into it. The setup of the fight is the same as it was before. You have a tank who has Decoy and Reflect, and the spellcasters who have Spellbreaker and Reflect, and the reflect timing for this fight is you need a lot less reflect time than you did before. So it's even realistic to not have spellbound on the girls, which would give them about 45 seconds or so more reflect timing. Without this, they get around 75 seconds of reflect, and you only need about 40 or so for this fight. So it's definitely realistic to cut this out now and cut down your LP. Other than that, let's get right into it. So the first thing you want to do is the same as before, which is manipulate his HP using damage to get him to as close to 60% damage as possible without going over. So there are several ways of doing this. One way you could do it is by putting glacial staves on both girls and then reflecting 2 full rounds of Fyra's. A new way that recently I've found that I like a little bit more is to take off the helm of Pinello and then just have her do 1 round while Ash does nothing for the first round. The damage values here work out really well with my armor setup, but this is something that everyone has their own way of doing it. You could also, for example, just let 2 spells go off from both girls and then ATB reset and let a full round with Fyra's. And that'll be pretty similar, but I like the damage values doing it this way. So don't want Ash to actually cast it here. You're going to be Belias freezing quite a bit this fight. You don't have to do it now, but since my Vaughn has relatively low HP and no Protect, I'm just going to do it to play it safe. This also prevents him from teleporting and making these spells miss, which can mess with your damage threshold manipulation. So now, normally later on in the fight you have time to cast Float, but later on in the fight things are going to be happening very quickly, so what I have been doing is just using the Float mode here, and then turn on Ash's Gambit and ATB refresh Pinello. So this is just the way I'm manipulating the damage values. If you wanted to do something else, you could do this however you like. Now the ATBs are charged, you can start freezing again. So this freeze is an older tech, but still relatively new, where it just stops him from moving while Belias is in the queue. But this is crucial to the rest of the fight. So we have his HP down where we want it. It's just above 60%. So the next significant damage we do to him will cause him to divide. So the trick here is to use Belias to stop him from dividing until all of the spells hit, and then we free ourselves up to try and approach him for another full round of spells. So throwing a little ATB reset on Vaughn. You could do this just by having him attack, but I'm just gonna do this. Just any way of canceling Belias here. Then we let the girls charge up again. Now here's where things get interesting. So at this point, it's really important to note whose spell goes off first. So looks to me like Pinello's is slightly more charged and Ash's is slightly behind. So the person who goes first is the person whose item will trigger first after these spells are done, after Ahriman teleports. So I'll also mention now that Belias is used to freeze the ATB. In the past, I have tried to be safe and only start summoning Belias once the ATBs are actually full. However, what you can do is start summoning before they're even full. You can see the bar for the ATBs is around the R in Fyra. With ATB on fastest, you can actually start this summoning close to the middle of the F, or even the beginning of the F in the ATB. So that's really important to note, as the freezing starts a moment after you start summoning Belias, and so summoning Belias earlier allows you to freeze Ahriman sooner, which, eliminates some variables, and as we'll see later, is actually pretty crucial to the end of the fight, and that was a pretty important realization for the new version of the strat. So anyway, start summoning Belias. We're fine. So there's the 6 spells. So now here is, I'm going to make a save state. Here is where the new tech begins. This part of the fight is was an idea from Kaniyami, and so the idea is that we're going to let him teleport, but we're going to clog the ATB with items in order to try and stop him from dividing until we get to him, and then we can hit him with spells while he's dividing. So the items we want to use here ideally are a warp mode on Ahriman and any other item. A high potion is a good one because you can use it on Vaughn. But any other item works fine. Single target is better because we don't want the girls to be targeted. So target Vaughn or Ahriman with your other item, but the warp mode is the big one because the warp mode is 8 effect capacity. So I noted that Penelo went first, and so I want her to be the one who uses the high potion. So the person who goes first uses the high potion. That's not the important thing. The person who goes second uses the warp mode because you want the warp mode to get stuck after the potion but before the divide. So Penelo uses the high potion, Ash uses the warp. You don't want to free up Vaughn's ATB until just around when the girls' ATBs are going to clear. You could ATB reset the girls here, but I find it fine to just pause a little bit and then target Ahriman. So now Ahriman is teleporting, and the girls are queuing up their items. We want to see the high potion go off first, and we want to immediately try and figure out where Ahriman is. So let's see where he teleports to. So he teleports over here. You can see him in the distance. The high potion is going off first. And so what we're going to be seeing here is that Ahriman will not be able to divide until the warp mote finishes. The warp mote won't be able to start until the high potion finishes. So we have until the end of the warp mote animation to get up behind Ahriman. We want to be behind him because we want to reflect spells onto him, and if you stand in front of him, you might accidentally hit the clone copy he's creating right now. So let's see this in action. Notice that Vaughn is free to move with this strategy, so he's healed. And just want to show the warp mote. Like I could bring the girls out right now, as long as I'm within 10 units of him, 10 meters, then I'll be able to hit reflect. As long as all 3 characters are, I'll be able to hit him with the reflects. So I could just take the girls out of the party and bring them back in right now, but I just want to sit here for a little bit to show you how much time you have with the warp mote, right? Like it's still going off. So that's how much time you have to get behind him. However, waiting like that means that Penelo's Fyra is now on, and she is trying to cast on the party, which means I can't change the party. So I'm just going to throw a quick ATB reset in here. So now the girls are not being targeted, which means I can pull them out, pull them back in. And now I'm ready for the next phase of the fight. So I'm going to make one more save state here. So now we're behind him, ready to reflect spells on him, and he's just now starting his divide. Now this is important because he is going to divide, and then both copies are going to try and teleport, but we want to freeze them with Belias before either copy can teleport. So, like I said, as the fires are charging, we can start our freeze. And there we go. We've hit him with our spells while both are frozen. So let's make one more save state here. So now this is the trick that was recently discovered, and this is the way you want to do the fight. And this is ideally how it goes, but this is not always going to be possible if you don't have the warp mode, or if you can't get behind him for some reason. So this is I'll show this first because this is the really exciting new thing. So what you do is Ahriman is going to teleport away, and for some reason he likes to teleport back to try and divide one more time, or to try and attack you one more time, but then he immediately triggers his divide. So there's like a very, very short moment where he appears and then goes away. The trick is to try and freeze him when he's there, and to try and line the girls' spells up to hit him there. So the way that you line those spells up is set the battle speed to slow, and then reset everyone. So resetting Vaughn clears Belias from the queue, and then resetting the girls resets their spells. We're putting the battle speed on slow to make their Fyras finish charging right when he gets back. So we see the target line appear, so this copy right here is currently teleporting back, but as soon as he gets here, he's going to teleport away again. So I want to start the Belias freeze immediately so that he can finish his teleport, but not teleport back away. And that's it. That's all there is to it. Now I say that's all there is to it. That's all there is to it if things go well. So there's a few other contingencies I want to show here. The first being, I showed what you do if you have a warp mode here. What if you don't have a warp mode? So what you do is you have to find some other combination of items you want to use to block him. So the most obvious one is, well, I guess I should say first that you're trying to block him from dividing. Dividing is effect capacity 4, and so you need at least 5 effect capacity worth of items going off to stop him from dividing. So one of the most obvious things you could do is just have all 3 of your party members high potion. So he's about to teleport, so Vaughn can also high potion. So we have 3 high potions in the queue, and we have until the first high potion leaves the queue to actually get close to him. So see where he goes. Now let's see if we can make it. So you'll notice there for a moment that Vaughn could not move because he was using a potion on himself. That was the disadvantage of doing it this way, along with the fact that... let's see if we can make it. Looks like we will. Okay. Like I said, when the ATB is near the F. So we still made it. So that is the way you can do it without the warp mode, but I'm sure you can imagine that if he teleported even further away, you would not make it to him before he is able to, before he or his clone are able to teleport away. Just for the sake of demonstration purposes, I'll just show the rest of the fight. Also very quick. Now, I'll just mention also that you're trying to freeze him when he just gets back. So that means you want to actually start charging the ATB on, or put Velias in the queue while the ATB is still charging, not before it's reached the end. So you want to be past the edge of the R, and you can just summon Velias. That's all there is to it. If you let the ATBs fully charge, you'll miss the timing and he'll teleport back away. And I'll show you how to recover from that because, you know, it could happen and it can happen in other strats, but or in other contingencies. But let's go back to here. So high potion was one option. Another possible option is you could use a float mote, which is effect capacity 4, and any other item like say a high potion, and that would also work. So before we saw that Penelo was the one who went first, so we'll have her use the high potion, Ash use a float mote, and then just have on attack. So now this is 6 effect capacity, so there's not space in an 8 effect queue for him to divide. So the advantage of doing something like this is that Vaughn can immediately run. He's not stuck using a high potion. The disadvantage is that Ash is using something on the party, which means that she will... okay, there we go. So now it's cleared the queue. She was starting the party, so you could have ATB reset her, but it cleared the queue, so we're good. So now we can do this. Okay. Now you can see Ahriman is going to appear directly, or the clone is going to appear directly in front of him. I'm probably going to be too close to the clone from where I am now. Yeah, so you can try and get everyone behind him. But as you can see, my reflects are hitting the clone, and you're missing out on a lot of damage. So this is something that can happen if you aren't using the warp mode. With the warp mode, you have so much time, you're always going to be able to get behind him, but this is why you want to be behind him. So one last thing I want to show is the float mode plus the Phoenix, or the float mode plus normal item is the one way you could do it to get 6. The slowest way, by which I mean the way that takes the longest amount of time for the items to clear the queue, would be an elixir and a Phoenix down. These items just happen to have longer animations, so just see it in practice. So you can see I can get much further away before the effects, the items clear the queue and the divide starts. So anyway, let's go back here. So I want to show that's the main path through the fight that you want to take. But there's 2 other contingencies I want to show just for if things go wrong for whatever reason. And this is more likely if you don't use the warp mode, but you're not always going to have the warp mode if you don't always go to the clan hall, so it's important to understand what's going on here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to be late with this Belias Clog. Now the reason I want to be late is to show what happens if you let the clone teleport. So if you let the clone teleport, the trick of just resetting the girls and then having them kill the main body is that the main body is not going to come back first now. The clone is actually going to come back first. Which means what we have to do is prepare for the rest of the fight going differently. So the way you can prepare for this is to just do your ATB reset the way you normally would. So the clone is going to come back. So clone, we have the battle speed back up now. Just the battle speed coming down is just to line the fires up correctly with when the Ahriman or the clone's gonna come back. Oops. I came back out of the menu and Vaughn was gonna summon. So right now there's divides going on and the clone is here. What I'm gonna try and do is re-decoy Vaughn after killing the clone. So the clone's dead. Reset again. Oh, we can take out Vaughn's mirror mail, obviously. Now this is not strictly necessary, but it will make the rest of the fight more reliable. Oh, he's come back. So this is a really tight timing of trying to kill the clone and then get him to come back. But the clones that do come back teleport away, so you can still hit this timing and get your tank decoyed for safety, and then bring in a sacrificial lamb while the rest of the dividing is happening. This decoy is not strictly necessary, but it will make the end of the fight much more reliable, so I like to try and go for it. Now, if things are going to get weird, this is the point where you have to be prepared to determine which Ahriman is the real one. At the start of the fight, you could cast, say, Protect on the real one, and then you can just look at him, just look at his status to see. So just to show what you would do. So if one of them is protected, you could scroll through the list and try and find the one that has Protect. But I personally think the best way is to just know how to spot which is the real one. And the way you do that is just to look for the one that has an extra shimmer effect on it. So none of these all look the same. See if I can wait for the... When they're teleporting, it's hard to tell, but I can already see which one is the real one. And it's this one right here. So he's currently can't be selected, which means he's currently in the active teleporting, but on the right side near the minimap, it's particularly obvious if you wiggle the camera. You can see there's sort of a shimmer. It almost looks like the Windows, the Windows XP mouse cursor when you have the tail dragging on, but that's the one we want to hit. So the way you want to do this is it takes about 5 spells to hit him, so you want to try and get it so that Vaughn is closer to him than any of the others, and then bring the girls in. So now it looks like others are going to might be teleporting closer. So let's see how many we can hit. Looks like we hit 4 spells. The reason you want to have decoy on here is that if you fail to kill him here, then the girls have a chance to get hit. However, if you're really confident or good at the positioning, then you can skip the decoy and not worry about that. As you can see here, I didn't quite get it. Probably could just kill him with a potion. Let's see. So here we go. Not quite. Yeah, that sort of thing. So regardless, the idea, I'll show one more time, is that if we're slow with this Belias summon, the clone will get to teleport, so we'll do our ATB reset. Okay, so I'm not sure this ATB slowing down is actually strictly necessary. And there you go, you're set up to finish the fight. That decoy is not strictly necessary, but it really adds a lot of safety. Now, that is what happens if you can't get him in time for the teleport. There's one other contingency of not using a warp mode, which is what if you just can't get to him at all? So I'll show that by just... So let's just say he's too far away that you can't get to him at all. You have to make a judgment call when you see where he's gone to, of whether you're going to make it. So you have to say, am I going to make this or not? If you have the warp mode, I think you'll always be able to make it. But if you're using 3 high potions, there's going to be chances that he's going to be like as far as possible and you will not be able to make it in time. And then in that case, you're going to want to do the fight as though you would, as though it was before. So, you know, take this off, reset. Re-decoy. Sacrificial lamb. Now he's going to come back with 4 clones, and now you get into the whole situation of manipulating his low HP and then killing him as before. But this is definitely suboptimal. We have 4 clones coming back. Real one's right there. In the middle, but we're just going to kill the clones. You can use Belias Freezing just to stop them from doing things or stop them from teleporting. So the clones are all dead now, and just the real one. Now I have a... Oh, rip. Oops. Say we're not going to make it. Okay, so you can see the real ones on the right, and there, I look for the above the left side of the W and weapon on his HP bar is around where 20% HP is, and that's around where we want to manipulate his final split. So let's not summon Belias this time. Okay, let's try this. Oh, Ash was missing her armor, so she was doing less damage. I wondered about that. So you manipulate that HP value, hit him with a full round, queue up more, and then just wait for him to come back, and hope you're able to kill him. There were some problems with this strat, like sometimes it would take, it takes longer for him to come back. There's a chance that he comes back at a weird time, or he could teleport to a middle range distance, which would, if he teleports to the middle range distance, and the girls might try and hit him while he's teleporting and lose their spells, then it becomes pretty awkward to try and kill him. But yeah, that's pretty much all there is to it. Just overview really quick. You're trying to manipulate 60% HP, and then hit him with a full round of spells, freeze or clog the ATB from stopping to stop his divide, and then once you stop that, you can get a full round of spells off, and then he'll teleport back to you with an ATB reset to kill him. If you don't freeze the clone in place, the clone comes back instead of him, meaning you have to kill it and then re-decoy and then kill with a full round. And if you don't reach the clone at all, or if you don't reach him while he's cloning at all, then you have to revert to the old strategy. But assuming you do manage to get to him, it's really way more consistent, way faster, everything's better about it. So yeah, if you have any questions, feel free to comment or come talk to us in the FF12 Discord. Thanks for watching.